Really, Gina? Another video on Cutaway Applique? Well, this one could be important to you if you're using letters that have cutout sections. I've started with the varsity block cap, not the varsity applique, even though that may be your end goal. I'm using the font. Let's get this brought up so that you can see it. Varsity block cap. And I'm using about a 4-inch letter. And I'll say okay. Now I want to go to outlines and offsets, and I'll set in my outline and offset. This is of no use to me, so I'll get rid of it. My B, I want to be ahead of the cutouts. So I'm going to also give this another color, and I'll fill it in. And you can just barely see where the two cutouts will be. And I'll select both of them. I held Control so that I could get them both. And let's give it kind of a brighter color so we can see it better. And let's go ahead and give that a fill. So what we're going to do now is, with these selected, I open Edit and I begin with Remove Overlaps. And you can see it cut out the B that I need. These two are no longer needed. I'm hitting Delete on my keyboard. Okay. Now what I'll do is get the word ready that I'm going to add. So this will be a cutout area on the side, and a word will go in here. I've gone to my toolbox. I'm opening lettering. I'm going to right click to bring up my menu box, and I'm going to type bears. And let's get one that I played with earlier, maybe. Not seeing actually what I want. So I can use these scroll buttons, or I can highlight and use my arrow keys. And TrueType works out pretty well in our Bernina software. That was a pretty plain one. Let's use, oh, it went back on me. Select. I think it started with a T. That's font, folks. Well, that's kind of cute. Okay. I'm going to use a height of 1. And I'll say okay. And I really want to change the color. So I've selected color chip. And there it is. I'd like my lettering to be a little bolder. I will go straight to Effects so that I can find the pull compensation quickly. And I'm going to use 0.5 pull compensation. This box can be moved out of your way. If you hit Apply, it allows you to look at this lettering before you close the menu box. So if I didn't like the 5, let's give it a little more punch with a 6. This time I'm going to be satisfied with it, and I'll say okay. And that closes my menu box. So with this lettering selected, I can go ahead and turn it now. I can either set my cookie cutter now or turn it now. And I do it both ways. I'll go ahead and turn this one. That way I can kind of set this bears where I think it's going to do a good job of cookie cutting the B away. I'm going to now open my toolbox, Edit, and go to Outlines and Offsets. I'll turn off Outlines I'll go to offset outlines, and I'm going to use 6 millimeters, 6 mm. Even though I have my software set to US inches, I can still put in millimeter setting. And I want another color for this. Let's choose pink. But the software did the math for me. 0.236 inches is very similar, very close to 6 millimeters. So I'll say OK. And now it's given me an outline around my lettering. This is going to be used to cut away the B. So I will give it a different color. Well, no, the pink's fine. But I want to change it to a fill. I don't want this pink to cut away my lettering. So I'm going to lock my lettering by touching K. It's the same thing as coming to your arrange, and you'll find lock there. So now I'll touch my pink and come to edit and remove overlaps. And you'll see that it cut away that part of the B that I don't need. I will now unlock my lettering, Shift K, and it will stay. And the cutter is no longer needed. Now, to turn this into an applique, I could use the automatic applique tools, but sometimes they don't do exactly what I want. So instead, I'm going to create my own applique, and it's my habit for my placement stitch to be a green. And I'll go ahead and change that to the outline. So if there's any odd places to clean up, it's easier to do when this is in an outline. I also want to change my stitch length. So I've gone to Object Properties, my outline stitch. I want it to be a single, but I want my stitches to be 4 millimeters long, and I don't care if they vary in length. So then I'll say, OK. I'm going to touch H just to see my shapes. And it's pretty intense. I'll select that B. I can go to Edit. I don't always do this, but I want to show you how if you need to. If you've got some odd places that are creating sharp spikes, you can delete them one by one, or you can select the shape and go into Smooth Curves. And I'm going to use 1 mm. And again, even though I'm in inches, the software will make the change for me. It will do the math. And that just smoothed it out a little bit. It almost smoothed it out too much, honestly. So I'm going to put that one back. But I just want you to see how it can be done. Now, these pieces I want to group together, and I'm going to duplicate them. This is my placement. I'm now going to get my tack down, Control D. Anything you add falls to the bottom of your color film. It's my habit to use a blue for my tack down, and you could use a blanket stitch or a zigzag. When you do use zigzag, though, make sure that your underlay is not there. And I would also change the properties. It does not need to be that tight. And width is a little strong too. Let's do 2 millimeters. And my spacing, let's take to 4. Apply. And there's just enough to tack down. But honestly, I would prefer to use my own tack down that I've drawn. So I will come to my pattern runs, and that looks scary. But remember those tight stitches? So I'm going to right click to bring up the properties, and I'll go in and find my group, and I'm going to use my small applique tack and apply. And this is going the wrong direction for some reason. This is all going bad. These are correct. Let me just go back to zigzag for now. Take the applique off, and I'll change the properties. I think I've had my software open too long today. Let's change the spacing to 4 and apply and OK. And I will now duplicate this again. This time, let's change it to perhaps a red. And rather than the zigzag, I want the satin stitch. And that's your applique. So when you run this, that went too fast, didn't it? And I actually want the bears to sew last. Doesn't really matter. It's just what I'm used to doing. Okay. All right. I've got a fun thing that I've been playing with recently. I'll take an applique that I've created to be sewn, but rather than sewing this, I will make a print out of this. We'll make a decal. This is a modern version of decals. They're not as stiff. They wash better. They don't peel. They don't fade. So I'll use this to make a print to put on a t-shirt. I might not want to do a heavy applique on a t-shirt, but I still want the look of applique without all the work. But let's put some fabric in this. So what I'll do is go ahead and open the applique toolbox, and I'm not going to convert applique. I'm going to go to advanced applique so that I can place fabric. Remember, this is just for appearance sake. Let's choose maybe that. And when I touch left click, it gives me the simulation of fabric. And now I will close by going, I hit the back button, I hit the close button, and this is what I'm going to make a transfer out of. So to do that, I'll go to File, Save Design as Bitmap, and I'm having pretty good luck saving as a PNG. And I can still have the same name on it, that's fine. I saved my Art 90 version so that it could be sewn on something a little heavier than a t-shirt. But the PNG is what I will send to a company. And I actually have one here in town in Oklahoma City. We can send a design over to them, and they'll have it by that afternoon, and I can pick it up. And then once I go home, then I can press the shirts with the new transfer. But what I love about the effect is the software does such a beautiful job of simulating stitches, but your transfer will look like an applique. And it's, I've actually had people touch my shirt so they can see for themselves that it is a transfer and not sewn. But thanks for watching.